that he would be guided by a new fiscal discipline. He said that he would limit operational expenditures to no greater than an increase of 2%. Yet he's presented a bill of $500 billion to Canadians. Single mothers, seniors, small businesses all make a budget before they spend. You would think that a highly esteemed banker would know that and would do that. So is he really committed to a new fiscal discipline? Or is he just like the last guy? Yeah.
Just like the last retard. Trudeau.
Speaker, it's a pleasure to be back in the House, and it's a pleasure to deliver for Canadians, Mr. Speaker. We are delivering on our plans to make life more affordable in Canada, Mr. Speaker. The first measure we introduced was a tax cut for 22 million Canadians. There are
$70 a month, Canada, that's what we get. Woo, let's go buy $1 million house.
GST on first-time home buyers for their new house, Mr. Speaker. And we are removing the consumer carbon price from law, Mr. Speaker. Together, we're going to build Canada strong, and I hope the Conservative will join us in that.
Oh, we got $70 a month, Canada. We should be jumping. Oh.
Well, Mr. Speaker, Liberals never learn, and they never keep their promises. The Treasury Board President said in the last Parliament that she would find savings of $7.1 billion on high-paid consultants. Instead, this government is now spending another $6 billion on high-paid consultants. The Prime Minister said that he would limit increases in operational spending of no greater than 2%. Yet he's presented a $500 billion bill to Canadians. So who is the Prime Minister going to choose? Canadians or his friends? Right. Yeah.
His friends.
L'honorable ministre des Finances et du Revenu National. Mr. Speaker, it is very clear we have already chosen Canadians, and Canadians have chosen us, Mr. Speaker.
No, we didn't choose you.
To build a more ambitious Canada.
Yeah.
To build a strong Canada.
The idiots chose you. We, the true Canadians, did not. We, the true Canadians, didn't.
Monsieur le Président, le Premier ministre.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister said that he would
True
be guided
Canadians
by
voted for
a new
Pierre.
level of fiscal discipline. He promised to
Not
limit
these
spending,
fucking idiots.
and yet now he has
Liberal
brought in
fucking
legislation
retards.
that would include expenses of billions of dollars in additional spending despite its complete lack of budget. Even small businesses make a budget before moving forward. Why would a banker not do the same thing? Will he finally show a certain level of fiscal discipline, or is he going to be just like the Prime Minister before him, the Honourable Minister of Finance and National Revenue? Mr. Speaker, I'd like to thank my colleague for her question. She has seen we are presenting an ambitious plan for Canadians. And the very first measure we brought in was a middle-class tax cut.
Yeah, a fake one.
That will affect 22 million people.
$70
people in
a
her
month.
riding
Let's
who
go
will
buy
benefit.
$1 million house, Canada.
Then we said that we would be
Get $70 extra dollars.
we would be eliminating the GST
Keep
for
all
first
my
buyers of
frickin'
new
pay that I
builds.
work my
That will
ass
enable
off
us to
for.
have a resilient economy, a strong economy, the strongest one in the G7.
For Simcoe North. Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister is asking Parliament to approve almost $500 billion in spending, up 8% from last year. Nothing says spend less and invest more like spending more money on high-priced consultants and contractors. That's going up to $26 billion a year, over 35% increase. Wow. Is the kind of change this government trying to deliver to push civil servants out to bring their friends and high-priced consultants like McKinsey back in? Oh, good question. L'honorable ministre des Finances et du Revenu National. I'd like to thank my colleague for his question. In fact, Mr. Speaker, we're focusing on result. And you know what? The first measure that we have introduced in this Parliament is to help 22 million Canadians, Mr. Speaker.
Oh, fuck off
People
with
in
that shit.
every
It's all
riding.
fucking
Canadians
fake.
are watching at home and are wondering, are the Conservatives going to support them? Are they going to support this government? Because Canadians know that we have their back and we're going to fight for
You
them.
haven't had our back in 10 years.
The Honourable Member for Nanaimo, Ladysmith.
Idiot.
The Prime Minister said he wants to spend less and invest more, but this week his government tabled a $500 billion spending bill with no budget. While 15,000 people use loaves and fishes, the food bank in my riding, this government has increased spending on consultants by a jaw-dropping $6 billion, a massive increase of 36%.
Consultants get a $26.1 billion gift that makes every household in Canada $1,400 poorer. Is the Prime Minister's reckless spending the real reason why there's no budget this spring?
Yep. Good question.
The Honourable
And we got
Minister
an idiot
of
to
Government
answer.
Transformation, Public Works and Procurement.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, and I want to thank my colleague for her question. I'm very proud to be part of this new government that's fighting for Canadians day one with a proposed bill that's going to make life more affordable for 22 million Canadians, and that's an average of $840 per family in income tax reduction. This is giving real help to Canadians, and I'm very proud that we're delivering on day one. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I apologize to the member for Long Range Mountains. It's her turn.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister claims he's different from his predecessor, but the numbers tell a different story. In his own first spending bill, consultants get a record-setting $26.1 billion, up more than 36% in 1 year. The government talks about restraint, but this is $500 billion of spending without a budget. Single moms, seniors, and small businesses must budget before they spend. How come a brilliant banker cannot do the same?
Good question.
He's not a brilliant banker. He doesn't have a budget now, does he?
The Honourable
How is he?
Minister for Government Transformation, Public Works and
Thank you,
Procurement.
Mr. Speaker. And the question a lot of Canadians are asking is how come Conservatives can't get behind the idea of supporting 22 million Canadians with a tax break
With the
that's going to make life
$70
more
extra
affordable
month.
for Canadians by eliminating
want my whole
GST
fucking
on new
paycheck,
homes,
bud.
which is
Not
going to help
fucking
new home
extra
buyers.
$70
Mr.
bullshit.
Speaker, our plan is ambitious to grow this economy, to make life more affordable for Canadians, and I'm hoping Conservatives will see the light and rally behind this ambitious plan for Canada. Thank you.
L'honorable député de Saint-Jean.
The Honourable Member for Saint-Jean. Mr. Speaker, we are seeing some dangerous intentions for Quebecers in the throne speech. The Liberals talked about a single Canadian economy instead of 13, which means that they want to control the Quebec economy from Ottawa, which is why the National Assembly of Quebec immediately and unanimously rejected this idea. Quebec is and should always be in control of its economic future, its trade, and relevant legislation. So on Monday, when the Prime Minister meets with his provincial counterparts, will he commit to respecting Quebec jurisdiction?
L'honorable Ministre des Transports.
The
All
Honourable Minister
Freelanders
of
talking
Transport.
now. Of course.
I'd like to thank my colleague for this important question.
Shut up and get out of here.
Also, like to thank the Quebec Minister that I spoke with yesterday. Participated in a provincial federal meeting about internal trade. Have a constructive
Freelanders
relationship,
still
a fruitful relationship.
listen to her.
The federal government has
God,
an excellent relationship
Listen
with
to
the
her for
provinces and
another fucking
territories,
4 years
and
of
we
this
will always respect
BS.
provincial and territorial jurisdiction. Honourable Member for Saint-Jean. Mr. Speaker, Canada is not a business, and Quebec is not a regional branch. The reason we don't have just one economy in Canada is that we don't have just one nation within Canada. We should never sacrifice Quebecers' interests in the name of a supposed Canadian unity. Francophone workplaces in Quebec is not a barrier to labor mobility. And ensuring that Quebecers can work in our forestry sector is not an obstacle to trade. Ultimately, the existence of the Quebec nation is not a trade barrier. Does the Prime Minister understand this? The Honourable Minister of Transport and Internal Trade. Yes. The Prime Minister said this morning, our government respects and will always respect the importance of Quebec, the importance of the Quebec nation, the importance of the French language. These are key priorities for our government. We also understand the importance of economic growth. And for our government, a priority is to create the strongest economy in the G7. It will be good for Canadians and Quebecers. The Honourable Member for Repentigny. Mr. Speaker, in the throne speech, the Liberals said once again that they want to have just one environmental assessment per project, which means that if an Alberta dirty oil pipeline is built and goes through Quebec, there would only be one assessment, which would be the federal assessment, ignoring Quebec and the provinces. But Quebec should be in control of its own territory. Quebecers and their institutions, like the Quebec Environmental Assessment Organization, they are the ones who should decide. Sovereignty on its own territory is non-negotiable. Will the government commit to respecting it?
Climate change.
Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to take this moment to say that I am so pleased that so many Quebec MPs are part of our government. In fact, there are 44, and they will be speaking up very clearly for the interests of Quebec and Quebecers. I will always work in favor of the interests of Quebec, and I will make sure that we hear their voice. The honorable member for Louis Saint Laurent Akia-Wenrock. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Now, during the throne speech, in his speech, the king was very clear. And this is something that shows what he felt about our previous Liberal government. He said that this government will be guided by a new level of fiscal discipline. And yet, very quickly, we see that in this new legislation that there will actually be an increase of $40 billion in spending, 8% more. It's hard to believe that these people could do worse than Justin Trudeau. How can this Prime Minister stand up and tell Canadians that he's actually going to do worse than Justin Trudeau? The Honourable Minister of Finance and National Revenue. Mr. Speaker, my colleague for Louis Saint Laurent knows that I respect him greatly. Yes, I'm sorry, I got the writing name wrong. But if he's talking about being able to stand up and look people in the eye, well, of course we can do that because there is a tax cut for 22 million Canadians. So the Prime Minister will be able to look people in the eye, and I hope my colleague will be able to do the same. He will be able to tell his constituents that he is voting for that tax cut and showing that he cares about Canadians. I would invite him to vote in favor. The honourable member for Louis Saint Laurent Akia-Wenrock. Well, Mr. Speaker, the king was quite cutting when he said that we need a new approach to fiscal discipline. I think that this would be an opportunity to change how things are done. But on the contrary, this government is actually increasing the amount spent on consultants. I could never have thought that the Minister of Finance would actually do something that was worse than what Justin Trudeau did. Will he get up, look Canadians in the eye, and say that he will finally start being a responsible steward of the fiscal the fiscal system, not like Justin Trudeau? The Honourable Minister of Government Transformation, Public Services and Procurement. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. You know which party Quebecers really were cutting towards. They cut the number of Conservative seats. After all, they didn't want a party whose plan was barely worth the paper it was printed on. Instead, they chose a plan to make the government more efficient, make the economy more resilient, and make life more affordable. And that's what we're doing with a tax cut for 22 million Canadians, $840 per family. I hope the member across the way will support that plan.
The honourable member for Sherwood Park, Fort Saskatchewan.
Your most important job is probably your first job because it starts you on the road to your career. But after 10 years of Liberal failures, that road is blocked for 1 in 7 Canadian young people. This is already an unemployment crisis with 100,000 more job losses coming. Now, rather than address this crisis, these Liberals continue to waste billions on consultants, a $6 billion increase. Why are they choosing a great job market for elite Liberal insiders and consultants and a terrible job market for Canadian young people?
The Honourable Minister of Jobs and Families.
Mr. Speaker, I share the member opposite's deep and profound concern to ensure that Canadian young people get opportunities across this country, especially in their first job. And that's why it's so exciting that Canada Summer Jobs will provide almost 70,000 jobs this summer. Great first-time jobs for young people all across the country. These are quality employers, quality jobs, and I look forward to hearing about them in my own riding.
The honourable member for Sherwood Park, Fort Saskatchewan.
Mr. Speaker, that minister has sat around the cabinet table for more than 10 years, and unemployment is steadily going up. It's actually at the highest point it's been in 10 years outside of the COVID period. We have an unemployment crisis, and Liberals are making things worse with another outrageous spending bill. This Prime Minister wants to spend even more than Justin Trudeau. So how can they ask Parliament for another $400 billion blank check with no budget, no plan for jobs, no plan to address the pain that their policies have caused?
The Honourable Minister of Jobs and Family.
Well, Mr. Speaker, we hear the member opposite talking out of both sides of his mouth. At one side, he's talking about the need to do something about unemployment, to do something about youth having excellent experiences in the workforce. And on the other side, he's talking about the need to reduce spending. And in fact, Mr. Speaker, we know that we can actually do big things together. That's what employers want across the country, Mr. Speaker. They want skilled workers all across this country in every sector. We'll be there with the provinces and territories to make sure we have the fastest growing economy in the G7.
The honourable member for Brandon Souris.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. This week, the Prime Minister introduced his first spending bill, and despite promising to cap spending during the election, the bill increases spending by another 8% on an already bloated federal government. $500 billion in spending introduced the same day as he promised again to cap it, all with no budget and on the backs of hardworking Canadians and at the expense of future generations. When will these Liberals finally cap spending and put the financial future of young Canadians first? Will the Prime Minister give us the date for a spring budget today?
The Honourable Minister of Finance and National Revenue.
I'd like to welcome the member to the House of Commons, but one thing, Mr. Speaker, it's clear, we have the back of young Canadians. If the member was listening carefully, he would have seen that in the very first motion we introduced in this House was the elimination of the GST for first-time home buyers, Mr. Speaker, for their first house. This is a measure to help young Canadians to get into the real estate market, Mr. Speaker. The young Canadians who are watching us at home understand we have their back and we will always work for them, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Northumberland, Clark.
Mr. Speaker, on April 5th, 17th, 20th, 21st, and 29th, the Prime Minister committed to, and I quote, free trade in Canada by Canada Day. However, almost immediately after the election, the Prime Minister already broke his promise, saying instead they would only introduce legislation to eliminate federal interprovincial trade barriers by Canada Day. Simple question, why did the Prime Minister mislead Canadians?
The Honourable Minister of Transport and Internal Trade.
I am really delighted to get a question on internal trade from the Conservatives. We don't agree about a lot of things, but I think everyone in the Conservative Party and in the Liberal Party agrees that free trade in Canada will make us all richer. And that is why I have a question for my Conservative counterparts. Will the Conservatives vote for our free trade in Canada by Canada Day legislation? We're counting on you. Canadians are counting on you.
The honourable member for Mission, Matsqui, Abbotsford.
Mr. Speaker, small businesses are struggling with the complexity and obscurity of the customs notice. For a government program that was designed to help businesses, the CDSA is causing turmoil, time and money for many in manufacturing and its supply chains. On May 20th, the department quietly issued an updated notice on its interpretation of the scope, narrowing the order. Why, in this time of uncertainty, should businesses be left to navigate costly and consequential red tape from this government? Don't they understand that livelihoods and Canadian businesses are on the line?
The Honourable Minister of Public Safety.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to thank my colleague opposite for this question. He has brought this to my attention a couple of days ago, and we are looking into this situation, and I will look forward to responding to him in the next couple of days. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
L'honorable député de...
The Honourable Member for Berthier-Masquinongé. Mr. Speaker, even under their new leader, the Liberals are spending way too much. The Prime Minister promised that he would limit the increase in spending to 2% a year, but instead we're hearing that actually he's going to raise spending by 8% this year, and that's before the tax cuts and nearly $2 billion in new spending that he wants to pass this session. It's very disturbing to bring in these measures without even giving us a clear picture of the public finances. Will this Prime Minister table a budget instead of governing exactly like Justin Trudeau did? The Honourable Minister of Finance and National Revenue. Mr. Speaker, I have a great deal of respect for my colleague, for Berthier Masquelier, as he knows. But it's surprising to hear that the Bloc Québécois is against a measure that will help people in his own riding. We just tabled a motion in this House to cut taxes for 22 million Canadians.
$70 a month we'll get.
That could be up to $840 for a two-income household.
Yeah.
This will be great for people in Berthier Masquelier, and people in that riding are expecting their MP to be there for them and to vote in favor of this measure. The Honourable Member for Berthier Masquelier. Mr. Speaker, people in Saint-Maurice-Champlain are expecting this member to table a budget. A little bit like this Prime Minister looked at the Trudeau spending and said, just watch me. In fact, we can only expect him to show up in this House wearing Adidas sneakers.
Yep.
This Prime Minister is showing that he simply intends to be the fourth edition of the same old Liberal government. Once again, he's trying to make people believe that they can keep spending while reducing taxes and somehow without increasing the debt. Well, let them then show us how they plan to do that. Let them table a budget. The Honourable Minister. Well, this gives me an opportunity to thank the voters in Saint-Maurice-Champlain who have sent me here for a fourth consecutive mandate, and I will fulfill my mandate with humility and conviction. And indeed, we will be proposing a budget in the fall very soon. It will be an ambitious yet prudent budget, which will enable us to build the Canada of tomorrow. That's exactly what Canadians expect from us, that we build a strong economy, the strongest in the G7. A resilient, strong Canada.
Member for Cloverdale, Langley City.
Mr. Speaker, I recently talked with a young fellow who said, unless my parents die and leave me this house, I will never own one. Now that's a reality for many young Canadians. So imagine their shock when they hear that the new housing minister says that home prices don't need to come down. Under this former mayor of Vancouver, house prices shot up 179%, rent up 50%, homelessness up 40%. If he didn't fix it then, and doesn't see a problem now, how much more expensive does he plan to let things get?
The Honourable Minister of Housing and Infrastructure.
Mr. Speaker, my thanks to the member opposite for the question. We are spending many days this week with mayors and councillors from across the country here for the Federation of Canadian Municipalities meeting here. And I would caution the members opposite to be insulting our local government officials who we are partnering with to deliver results on the ground. We will deliver a cut to the GST for first-time home buyers.
That's right.
We're going to see a $50,000 savings for first-time home buyers delivered by this new government.
Yeah, very good.
The Honourable Member for Aurora, Oak Ridges, Richmond Hill.
Mr. Speaker, the housing market in the GTA is descending into complete chaos. New data shows GTA home sales are the worst since the market crash of the 1990s, falling 89% below the 10-year average, and condo sales fell 94% below the 10-year average. Home prices are too high for buyers and too low for sellers. Sellers can't sell, buyers can't buy, builders aren't building. The report warns that there will be a massive housing shortage in just 2 years. Can the Prime Minister tell us why he refuses to present a budget immediately to provide much-needed help for both buyers and sellers?
The Honourable Minister of Housing and Infrastructure.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The critical piece that we need to invest in is more affordable housing across Canada right now. And we are doing that by delivering a GST cut for new home buyers. We are doing that by reducing the costs of housing through development cost charges. We're working in partnership with local governments to deliver that. We have to be sure we build more affordable housing for young people and those most vulnerable across our country.
Honourable Member for York, Durham.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. New data out this week shows that home sales in the GTA are down 89% below their 10-year average. That's not a slowdown, Mr. Speaker. That is a market stall. What's the Prime Minister's response? A GST proposal that industry has dismissed, saying it will not improve affordability. So my question to the Prime Minister, what is his plan today, not in September,
for buyers who can't buy, sellers who can't sell, and builders who can't build.
The Honourable Minister of Housing and Infrastructure.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So we do have good news coming with the GST cut for first-time home buyers. We are seeing a stall in the market as people wait for that cut. We hope that the members opposite will support that cut.
That's right, they should.
We're also going to focus on building more housing on the affordable end of the spectrum. That's what the young people of Canada need. That's what we need to deliver in this House for the people of Canada.
Member for Oshawa.
Mr. Speaker, the price of the average home in my hometown of Oshawa has gone up 121% since 2015. According to Equifax, a record number of Ontarians are missing mortgage payments now, up 71.5% since early 2024. A TMU professor said, the first thing you make sure you do in life is pay your mortgage. But people aren't doing that because the whole system is so broken now. This Liberal housing minister, former mayor of Vancouver, comes to us with an already broken record of sky-high prices and surging homelessness. So why should Canadians trust him to do the job?
The Honourable Minister of Housing and Infrastructure.
We don't trust any of them to do anything.
Mr. Speaker, again, I will caution the members opposite to be insulting local government officials who are here in Ottawa this week to partner with the federal government.
Very good.
The only way that we get housing built in this country is with alignment with the provinces and territories, the local and Indigenous governments. We need to work in partnership and collaboration to deliver housing for Canadians that they can afford.
Great.
Honourable Member for Richmond Hill South.
Mr. Speaker, according to new data, Ontario's homeowners are missing mortgage payments in record numbers. 90-day mortgage delinquency rate jumped 71% since last year. Canadians are facing 40-year inflation highs, lackluster housing supply, and skyrocketing mortgage rates. And what does the housing minister have to say? That prices don't need to come down. As Vancouver's mayor, he oversaw rent going up 50%, home prices up 179%, and homelessness up 40%. Can the Minister of Housing tell Canadians how many more families must fall behind before his government takes action and finally tables a budget?
The Honourable Minister of Housing and Infrastructure.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. To the member opposite, we have real challenges with housing across this country, and we have to address the affordability. We also have to tackle the trade war that we face with the United States. The tariffs are having an impact on Canadians. They are impacting affordability. They are impacting our markets, and that's why I applaud the actions of our Prime Minister and our ministers in addressing the challenges we face with the U.S., growing the Canadian economy, and ending this trade war.
Member for Brampton Centre.
After years of delays, uncertainty, and economic damage, it's undeniable that Bill C-69, the No More Pipelines bill, has been an absolute failure for Canadians. Industry leaders, provinces, and Indigenous communities have repeatedly sounded the alarm over its complex, unpredictable regulatory process that chases away investment and blocks development. Now that the Supreme Court has confirmed that key parts of this legislation are unconstitutional, will the Liberal government finally admit it got this wrong and scrap Bill C-69? And take real action to get Canadians back to work.
Minister of Energy and Natural Resources. So who got up?
Mr. Speaker, in trade wars, we must capitalize on every competitive advantage we have. This means working with provinces, territories, Indigenous peoples, and proponents to make Canada an energy superpower. We will fast-track projects, cut red tape, and approve projects in the national interest within 2 years. These activities will build the strongest low-cost, low-risk, low-carbon economy in the G7.
Member for Brampton Centre. Brampton Centre. Yes, go ahead.
Mr. Speaker, it's an honor to rise in this House for the first time representing the people of Brampton Centre. My family, friends, campaign team, and constituents for all of their love and support. Our constituents from across Canada sent us to Ottawa to deliver them real results. Can the President of the Treasury Board share with this House what we are doing to bring down the cost for Canadians?
of the Treasury Board.
Mr. Speaker, I'm honored to work with the newly elected member for Brampton Centre to deliver results for our community and for all Canadians. Canadians elected a new government to take bold actions, and that's what we're doing with our first act. A tax cut for 22 million Canadians, new sports for first-time home buyers, and by removing the consumer carbon price. This new government is taking decisive actions to make life more affordable for Canadians and to build Canada strong.
The honourable member for Calgary-Crowfoot.
When this government was first elected in 2015, they killed 16 major resource projects and chased $176 billion out of the Canadian economy. This resulted in thousands of lost jobs in my city alone, and Bill C-69 continues to make it impossible to build the pipelines needed to unleash our resources and to restore our economic independence. Will the Prime Minister commit today to cancelling Justin Trudeau's No More Pipelines law, Bill C-69? Yes or no?
Minister of Energy and Natural Resources.
Mr. Speaker, I have been clear. We will support new pipelines if there is a national consensus in favor of them. We will honor with our country facing American tariffs, we must strengthen our energy and natural resources sector. There is no question energy is Canada's power. We will help build the strongest economy in the G7, create jobs for Canadians, and give the best cards to our negotiators at the negotiating table. Canada's new government will win this trade war.
The honourable member for Miramichi-Grand Lake.
Mr. Speaker, Conservatives and Canadians know that if you pay more taxes to the government, the weather will not get better. Conservatives have been standing up for Canadians and against the carbon tax for more than a decade. This Prime Minister made a big splash in March when he told Canadians that he would axe the carbon tax. After the Conservatives pleaded for years, finally his government removed the consumer carbon tax. Now will the Prime Minister also repeal the industrial carbon tax so Canadian companies and industries can compete in the global economy? Yes or no, Mr. Prime Minister?
The Honourable Minister of Environment and Climate Change.
That was an interesting question, and I'm going to actually disagree with all the premises of it. But if we actually care about industries, then we're going to look at what's actually costing them right now. And that's the tariffs that are coming from the United States. It's impacting their ability to do what they need to do. We are here standing up for Canada. We're here standing up for a strong economy. We know that that's what we need to do. That's what Canadians have to do, and that's what we're going to keep doing.
The honourable member for Bow River.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister says that half of Canada's oil needs to stay in the ground. And now he's backing that up with a production cap that the Parliamentary Budget Officer says will kill 54,000 jobs and gut $20 billion from our economy. This keep it in the ground agenda doesn't just kill paychecks, it makes us more dependent on foreign oil. It weakens our economy, punishes Alberta families and Saskatchewan families who build this country's energy sector. So I'll ask the Prime Minister a simple yes-no question. Will he scrap his job-killing production cap and finally let Canadians restore energy independence?
The Honourable Minister of Energy and Natural Resources.
Mr. Speaker, my goal is to get things built where there are proponents. Canada's new government will fast-track projects, cut red tape, and approve projects in the national interest within 2 years. We will make Canada strong and protect ourselves from American tariffs if we work together with Indigenous partners and our workers, but across party lines. I encourage my Conservative colleagues to join us in creating new jobs, building the strongest economy in the G7, and making Canada an energy superpower.
Honourable member for Swift Current Grasslands Kindersley.
After 10 years of Liberal anti-energy policies, the devastation continues. There's already been hundreds of thousands of job losses in the industry, and thanks to the radical ministers on the front bench, their oil and gas production cap has another 54,000 jobs and to over $20 billion on the chopping block. The Prime Minister campaigned on having a plan to get things built, yet he's already committed to not overturning the production cap. Is the Prime Minister's refusal to scrap the cap an admission that he supports this devastating policy?
The Honourable Minister of Environment and Climate Change.
Mr. Speaker, after seeing under the Conservative government nothing getting built, I think that we have some lessons to learn. what we learned is that you can't actually get results if you decide, we're not going to do any environmental assessments, we're not going to be consulting with Indigenous peoples. What we're going to do is we're going to make sure that we build an effective, efficient assessment system that gets projects built. That's what we committed to do, and that is what we will do.
Bravo, bravo. The honourable member for St. Albert, Sturgeon River.
Mr. Speaker, when the Prime Minister was chair of Brookfield, Brookfield registered $30 billion of investment funds in offshore tax havens in Bermuda and the Cayman Islands, all to avoid paying taxes in Canada. And now the Prime Minister refuses to come clean and disclose his assets to Canadians. Canadians deserve to know, does the Prime Minister have any financial holdings hidden away in offshore tax havens, yes or no?
Great job, Cooper. The Honourable Government House Leader.
Mr. Speaker, Canadians should feel very reassured that we have among the most stringent ethics requirements for public office holders in the world. The Prime Minister has not only complied with all of those requirements, but has proactively and preemptively filed all of the information that the Ethics Commissioner requires. Obviously, complying with the rules is something we will always do on this side of the House. That's right. Canadians can bank on that.
Hear, hear. Honourable member for St. Albert, Sturgeon River.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister has been anything but transparent, hiding behind a loophole in Canada's ethics laws to hide his assets from Canadians. And it really begs the question, why? Is it because Mr. Elbows Up himself is dodging paying taxes? Is that why?
Good question. Good question.
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I don't know that evoking conspiracy theories is going to advance the case of the Conservative Party. What I would say is, to repeat one more time, that Canadians should feel very reassured by the fact that we have among the most stringent ethics guidelines in the world, and the Prime Minister has not only met those requirements, but exceeded them.
L'honorable député de Bellechasse.
The Honourable Member for Bellechasse, Les Etchemins, Lévis. Mr. Speaker, recently in Lévis, nearly 10,000 people sought food assistance, which is twice as many as in 2021. Now, there are full-time workers who can no longer put food on the table. Meanwhile, the Liberal government promises to cut spending in the morning, then in the afternoon it goes ahead and increases spending by 8%. There may be a new face in the Prime Minister's office, but the same bad habits remain. Does the Prime Minister realize that his out-of-control spending is fueling inflation and forcing even more Canadians to line up at food banks, Mr. Speaker? The Honourable Minister of Finance and National Revenue. Mr. Speaker, I thank my colleague for her question. We are all concerned about this situation in the country. That's why, Mr. Speaker, the first measure our government presented was one for affordability, so that about 20 million Canadians across the country could pay less in taxes, Mr. Speaker. The best way for Canadians to be able to keep their income, Mr. Speaker, the best way is for them to pay less in taxes. That is just one way we're helping Canadians, and we will continue to help Canadians.
Bellechasse.
The Honourable Member for Bellechasse, Les Etchemins, Lévis. Mr. Speaker, who's profiting? Not Canadians, but external firms, consultants. There are 10,000 people in my riding lining up at food banks. Can we at least have the decency to table a budget this spring, Mr. Speaker?
L'honorable ministre de l'Industrie.
The Honourable Minister of Industry. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As you know, currently our goal is to help those who are struggling to make ends meet. That's why we cut taxes. That's why we cut taxes for the middle class. We are also cutting the GST for those who are buying their first property. And as my colleague knows full well, we are currently in the middle of a tariff war. We are fighting to create jobs, to protect jobs that are currently under threat. And we are also here to invest to build the strongest economy in the G7. The Honourable Member for Beauport-Limoilou. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I congratulate you on the speakership. This is my first time rising in the House as member for Beauport-Limoilou. I thank my constituents for placing their trust in me. Voters called for change. change which will allow them to keep more money in their pockets. Can the minister explain what this government will do to make life more affordable for Quebecers and for all Canadians?
L'honorable ministre de la Transformation.
The Honourable Minister of Government Transformation and Procurement. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I thank the people of Louis Hébert, thank them for voting for me. I also thank the people of Beauport-Limoilou for giving us a third Liberal voice in the Quebec area. This will make us even better at defending their interests. We've already taken action with a tax cut for 22 million Canadians, a savings of up to $840 for a family of 4. We are delivering. We're taking action to have a stronger economy and country.
Nicolas. Mr. Speaker, this government is not serious when it comes to public safety. We recently learned that terrorist-related charges were up 488%. Wow. If you thought that this statistics and the problem that goes with it would be reported in the speech from the throne, you'd be wrong. Why is this government so unserious about a matter that impacts all Canadians?
The Honourable Minister of Public Safety.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and it's pretty obvious that my friend opposite didn't hear the speech from the throne because we have some very significant measures to address issues of security. New threats to our safety are emerging each and every day. Canada's intelligence, security, and law enforcement agencies have robust measures in place to monitor and take action to address them. From listing terrorist entities to investigating and prosecuting those who seek to cause us harm, Mr. Speaker, our government will always be there to protect Canadians.
2 days in a row. How is that protecting us?
The Honourable Member for Kamloops, Thompson Nicolas.
This government will always be there to protect Canadians. Mr. Speaker, let's move to Exhibit 2. The case of Randall Hopley. This person kidnapped a 3-year-old child. He served a lengthy jail sentence. He was released into the community in 2023. Shortly thereafter, he was at large for 10 days with his photo being plastered everywhere. He was released again this week, and he didn't even last a day in the community. If this government is so committed to going after sex offenders, to protecting Canadians, will they repeal this?
The Honourable Minister of Public Safety.
Mr. Speaker, when we speak about crime and safety and security, it's important that we have the facts right. The case in question is a matter that was a matter of a statutory release, which is in law. And I invite my friend again to ensure that.
And that rapists out because they're all fucking rapists.
Hear the Honourable Member. I can't hear the Honourable Member. Could you repeat that?
Mr. Speaker, we cannot conflate issues of statutory release to bail. And we will ensure that as this is a matter that's before the Correctional Services Canada, we will work with them to ensure that they have the right measures in place. But I can assure everyone in this House that this is a matter of law, that it...
You don't want to take
the Honourable Member for Hamilton East, Stony Creek.
Mr. Speaker, I have news from my riding of Hamilton East, Stony Creek. Yesterday, a Hamilton City bus was caught in the crossfire of a shooting. This comes just weeks after an innocent young lady tragically lost her life by a stray bullet on Upper James simply by waiting for the bus. Crime is out of control, and this status quo is unacceptable. When will the Prime Minister repeal Liberal C5 and Bill C75 so we can bring back safety to the streets of Hamilton and Canada?
The Honourable Secretary of State for Combating Crime.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. First of all, I want to sympathize with the family of the innocent bystander. Her family lives in my riding, and I've met with them. This issue is close to home for me, and is one I'm committed to in my position. I know the Prime Minister is committed to it. We are going to make changes. This new government is committed to making sure that we hold criminals accountable and we make our streets safer. And we're going to do the work that's necessary, making stricter bail penalties, stricter sentences, and all the work that we need to do across.
The Honourable Member for St. Catharines.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Canadians expect our government to keep our borders secure. A strong border leads to safe streets. Can the Minister of Public Safety provide this House with an update on the implementation of Canada's $1.3 billion border plan?
Minister of Public Safety.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Let me just begin by congratulating my friend from St. Catharines on his re-election. Our border is strong, and through our border plan, the single largest investment in our border in Canadian history, we're making it even stronger, Mr. Speaker. We have eyes on the border 24/7 with more officers, drones, Black Hawk helicopters, and sensors. Our plan is working. Earlier this year, we seized more than 46 kilograms of fentanyl, 122 firearms, 33 stolen cars, over 800,000 in cash, and arrested 524 criminals, Mr. Speaker.
And yet they're back
Canadians
out
elected
on the
this government
street,
to
right?
keep our borders safe, and that is exactly what we'll do.
The honourable member for Beauce.
Monsieur le Président.
Mr. Speaker,
And yet they're back
Canadians
out
are
on the
worried
streets
about their
doing it
economic
all
future.
over again.
Meanwhile, the Prime Minister continues to spread doubt about his own financial interests. He was with Brookfield, a business that has assets in many tax havens, which leads us to have a lot of questions. Canadians want to know whether the Prime Minister still has hidden financial assets and interests in tax havens. Will he be totally transparent in disclosing his past and present financial assets? Yes or no? The Honourable Government House Leader. A warm welcome to my colleague from Beauce, who will learn, like all other new members in this place, that there are rules. We have a code of ethics which must be respected. That's non-negotiable. The Prime Minister proactively met and even exceeded the rules of the Code of Ethics. I hope the member across the way, just like the Prime Minister, will follow the Code of Ethics.
Mr. Speaker, due to the escalating climate crisis, Manitobans are being uprooted from their communities by raging wildfires. The Premier has ordered a province-wide emergency as 17,000 people in northern communities and First Nations have fled their homes. Many are being evacuated to Winnipeg Centre, where countless people already suffer with housing insecurity and unmet mental health needs. Will this government act to ensure all communities impacted by the fires receive the health and housing resources they need so that they can live in dignity?
Which minister? Honourable Minister of Emergency Management. Go ahead.
Mr. Speaker, I rise for the first time in this House. Our hearts go out to all of the communities who are affected by wildfires from coast to coast to coast. Last night, the Prime Minister and I received a request from the province of Manitoba seeking airlift evacuation support for 2 northwestern Manitoba First Nations communities, and of course we immediately agreed to that support. There are a number of communities affected by wildfire.
The Honourable Member for Nunavut.
Indigenous peoples must be given free, prior, and informed consent for projects developed in their territories. Last Parliament, I addressed this concern in my private member's bill. The throne speech highlighted one project, one review, and ignores UNDRIP. The Prime Minister plans to make Canada an energy superpower. No wonder the AFN is concerned. Will the Minister reverse his colonial approach, or will Indigenous peoples' rights be violated?
Hello, the Minister of is it Crown Indigenous Relations? Indigenous Services.
Crown Indigenous Relations.
Crown Indigenous Relations. Thank you. Sorry about.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We face a major challenge that requires united efforts to advance nation-building projects, making Canada's economy stronger and one of the fastest growing in the G7. The Crown, including provinces and territories, must consult with Indigenous peoples to support Indigenous self-determination. This partnership fulfills legal duties and advances reconciliation. While we won't comment on provincial matters, we remain committed to collaborating with all to build a stronger Canada. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
And that ends question